Welcome, Derrick, to the Simplifying Entrepreneurship Podcast. It's great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Pete. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, we just met each other a couple of minutes ago, but I'm, looking through all of your stuff, we certainly resonate on a lot of different areas and excited about our conversation here today around building a team and proper delegation and maybe a little bit about your story on how you took over the last few years your business from 0 to 12 members and all of that sort of stuff as well. So really looking to digging into the conversation here today with you.
Likewise, Pete. I'm ready to give whatever information we can.
Cool, man. Excellent. So tell me a little bit, just a little backstory about your business and, you just were saying a little while ago that you literally started it a few years ago and now it's become a cash cow. So how did that happen? And how did building a team and all of the thoughts around delegating help you get there?
So yes, I started January of 2018, rather. I found a lot of work on a website called Upwork, Upwork.com, and noticed that there was a high demand for podcast audio editing. And at the time, I had 5 different hustles going on to just help supplement my main hustle at the time, which was being a touring musician. I've been a musician for about 20 years. Part of being a musician is you need other jobs and you need the flexibility. Yeah. So I've Ubered, I've driven for Lyft, I've hosted trivia, I've done all these different things. And so one day I Googled work from home just because I needed another hustle, but I wanted to be able to just do something on my laptop. I wanted to just, all I need is internet and computer and I can do what I need to do. Found Upwork, found the need for the audio editing, definitely could handle that, simple editing. I could handle that. And just immediately built a profile and started pushing and putting in proposals and trying to get a client. Well, finally I got one client. So now, bam, all right, there's some activity, there's a better resume, get some experience. And then that turns into 2 clients and you know the deal. You just keep pushing. And then by June of 2019, I kind of hit a crossroad, a ceiling, if you will, where I was very fortunate up to this point to have enough work to almost, support myself. But yet my time was crunched. Like I hit a ceiling, like I need better earnings, but I can only work so many hours in a week.
Exactly.
And by this time I'm getting better offers from better clients that need more than audio editing. They need assets that I can't do. They need a service I can't provide. So I was losing opportunities and I just capped my earnings and still needed other side hustles in order to, I'm like, man, but this time I'm like, you know what? I love this. Like, I think I finally found the thing that I want to do and it's mine. So that's when I decided, you know what? I need to flip the script and start thinking as a company, and build a team, and being like, all right, not only do I want to bring editors in to open my bandwidth so that I can get more clients, but then hire a graphic designer, hire a writer, hire a transcriptionist, hire a video editor that can now provide these services that I couldn't provide. And that all began in, like I said, June 2019, hired my first editor. And then just away we went, and nice. So 2.5 years later, I'm a 6-figure grossing company.
Nice. That's crazy. Awesome. Yeah. What a great story. Yeah. And from that perspective, tell us a little bit about the growth and how you layered that on as you grew.
So what I would do is first, with my new hire, I started giving things that I was doing. To open up my bandwidth. But I couldn't give it all. I just couldn't give it all at once because I still needed to earn my living. And quite honestly, I had no business giving work away either. I had to just take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Well, from that point forward, though, whenever a new client came in, automatically my new editor got that work. It never touched me. Like I stopped editing new stuff. and just started shoveling it to the next guy, and then so that starts stacking, and to the point where an editor is like, dude, like I can't handle any more a week. I have other clients, I have a family, I can only handle 10 hours a week. All right, you're capped. All right, let's find a new one and find another editor. And I'm up to 6 now,
Nice.
And, but someone can only work a few hours a week. We're all contractors. So it's next man up, let's go, and that's how I operated it. And then, so now once things started really stacking and getting bigger and my bottom line was growing because of the revenue was growing, then I could really shovel off everything else. And I haven't edited a podcast in over a year, so I was able to just shave all of that away, which was nice.
So tell us a little bit, Derrick, about your process around creating that. And when you're saying, hey, I just got another editor, but when you're delivering the quality that you're delivering through SRP, and when you're laying that out and just tacking these other layers on and other people on, how are you laying out the process so that you ensure the quality is where you need it to be, because you're delivering a quality project for every time. You have these different people sometimes doing it. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's very strange at first when you're letting go, because now you get someone else coming in, and my clients used to a certain level of quality, and then now I'm handing that off to somebody else. One thing that I will say is what I've been good at is hiring people smarter than me, better than me.
Nice.
So that when I hired an editor, he was a real editor, someone that was passionate about editing and just really knew all the ins and outs of it. So it was easy for me to trust that it was going to be better than what I was doing, but then what it would be is I would at least train them saying, hey, for this particular podcast, here's the outline. These are the different pieces you'll be sent. These are the order in which they go in. Here's your pre-recorded intro. Here's your pre-recorded outro. This one's just more of a basic edit. This one, they really want you to scrub through everything and take out every filler word possible. We like it compressed this way. I want it to sound similar to that. Make sure let's hit the background noise, and get them going that way. But then after that, once he found his way in his system, I didn't care how his system worked, as long as the product was good. And then I can send it to the client. And then it worked out. And I just got very lucky. My first editor I hired is still with me, still one of my top guys. Awesome. And it's all about trust, as you would know too, and running a business and having a team. So has there been times where the quality, and has there been times where I needed a stronger quality control? Yes. And then you just try
with that, Derrick, with that, I mean, we all have issues like that. So what did you do to tighten up the procedures around that in order to not have those kind of things happen again?
Sometimes it's just as they come, like, hey, we need to redo this. Sometimes it takes, when I assign editing to a new person, sometimes it takes a few weeks or a few episodes to finally get that person going. But some quicker than others. Some have been forgetful. That's one of the things I learned is I could hire a talented person, but are they responsive and are they attention to detail in the sense of deadlines? So there's been that stuff too, where I'm having to stay on someone for a few weeks to get things going. And there's no worse feeling when a client is like, hey, something changed here. What's going on? And I'm like, sorry for the last 3 mistakes, we're getting there. But I just hang in there, and then eventually, my team member will get there where we need it to be. But it's a per client basis, it's not something I have a standard form for, because each client's different too.
Right. Yeah.
Every client, every podcast has its own thing. So it's hard to standardize everything.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about when you have the differences around there, how you can delegate those, and maybe a little bit about the communication that you have
Hmm.
between yourself and your team members, because I'm assuming most of your team members aren't working with you in your place. They're
Hmm.
sort of out and about in their own places. And from that perspective, how are you managing that sort of communication aspect of your team these days?
So you are correct. Everyone is all over the country. I have one team member that lives in Nashville, Tennessee. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. So 3 hours away. I've met him
Yeah.
a bunch of times. We've had lunch. We've hung out. That's it. He's the only team member I've ever met in person. Um, but early on, it was easy because I just had one editor and I had one other person to help assist some things. So it was like a team of three.
Right.
So we could do what we needed to do on Slack. I'm sure
Mhm.
you're familiar with Slack, and
I
it's
am. Use it all the time.
and it's an amazing platform to communicate with your team and have everyone in chat rooms and whatnot. But when it comes to tasking, it's limited, and we outgrew it. So it was really starting to get confusing because now I'm tasking for one episode, I'm tasking a graphic designer, I'm tasking the editor, a writer, a transcriptionist, and it just got messy. So I had to look for a production management platform, and I went with Monday.com, which is
Okay.
like Asana, Trello,
Hmm.
just
Yep.
any one of these things. But I ended up landing on something that worked great because it's very automated. It's very intricate on what you can design, which is important because, like I just mentioned, sometimes for one episode of a podcast, I'll have up to 5 people working on it.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a timeline. Like you can't do B unless A is done. And then once A
Yeah.
and B is done, then we can do C. So we have these automations and these status buttons that trigger moving tasks and notifying certain people like, hey, your asset is ready, good to go. And then each episode has its own card. So now we can all communicate on that one episode rather than mixed throughout a Slack room where it's like, how, things are just lost and out of order and out of context. So that was huge and absolutely critical. There's no way I could handle 30 some odd podcasts and a team of 10 on emails and Slack. Not going to
Yeah, I know.
happen. Not going to
I
happen.
get it.
Yeah.
And for me, I use Trello. Same sort of
Yeah.
thing though, for just to flow those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having those boards up, and it just makes sense of everything, right?
Yes. Big time. I use Trello for myself. Trello is my Houston. It's like I have my little system I've built,
Yeah.
and I can't function without it. It's my daily, for every business I do, my personal scheduling with my daughter, just whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a great automation tool too. There's
Yeah.
lots of good automations you can have with Trello as well. But I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter which tool. It just matters that you have a tool that's actually giving you the results that you need, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as long as
And
you can remember to do your things, and I love being notified, of
yeah,
what I need to do, and also I like cleaning a slate. It's like, my agenda for Tuesday is done. I'm good to go. And
yeah, love that.
so
Well, thanks so much for letting us in on how you've grown your business from sort of zero to where you're at now, and having all those successes along with the teams that you've created and some of the tools that you've created, Derrick. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit how to get a hold of you
Mhm.
and what's going on with your business these days and all of that great stuff?
So my main platform is my website. It's shelbyrowproductions.com.
Yep.
There you'll find all my socials, Instagram. We got a Facebook group, and we're on LinkedIn. I also have a podcast called PodLogics, where it's a bi-weekly podcast where we just talk about everything podcasting. Sometimes I'm talking about something that's more for a producer, and then some episodes I'm talking directly to a podcaster with tips and tricks and interviewing people,
Awesome.
interviewing other hosts and on how they do their things, and then I am in the beginning stages of building a coaching company specific for podcast producers, the solopreneurs out there that were like me 2 years ago that just hit that ceiling, need to take that next step, don't know how to do it, need someone to help coach them. I'm no expert, but I know what I experienced, and I learned the hard way. But part of learning the hard way is it sticks. You just kind of,
That's it.
I went for it. So I definitely have some value there to help solopreneur podcast producers specifically. So I will be starting a coaching program for them. If you're interested, you can go to my website and then email me from there if you'd like.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much. And really appreciate our chat today. So I've enjoyed it and look forward to hearing a little bit more on your podcast in the near future.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it.
All right. Make it a great day, Derrick.
You too.